I'm going to talk about ratios, including their relation to fractions. All right, let me do some typing to get us started. Two numbers can define a fraction. Okay? The order of the numbers that make a fraction matters. Okay, so we're starting out simple. One purpose for bringing two numbers together is to make a fraction. All right? And I hope you would agree that the order that we bring those two numbers together matters when we're defining fractions, right? So, for example, a 3 and a 4 can make two different fractions depending on the order that you bring them together. Okay? Now, there might be other reasons other purposes for which you bring two numbers together. Okay? Making fractions is a common reason you bring two numbers together, but it's not the only possible reason you might bring two numbers together. All right? Whenever you combine one or more numbers, the general thing you're creating is called a ratio. Okay? So let me type out the definition of what a ratio is so that there's no misunderstanding. A ratio is an ordered set of one or more numbers. So ratio is an ordered set of numbers. Okay? Now, notice like for a fraction, the order mattered of the two numbers. Likewise, for a general ratio, the order matters there as well. Okay? So what are some examples of reasons you might want to bring two numbers together, or 3 or 4, that are not to create fractions? All right? Well, suppose that you wanted to communicate how much money two of your friends had. All right? So let's say Sally had $2, and let's say Joe had $5. So to communicate how much those two friends had, you would need to join those two numbers somehow. Let me show you some ways that people have joined two numbers in the past to symbolize a ratio. You can use a colon. Okay, you can use the word 2, so 2 to 5, or you can use the traditional fraction notation. Okay, all three of these communicate a ratio. Okay, now let's be clear. When you communicate how much money two of your friends have, you're not talking about a fraction. Okay? A fraction is used to communicate a single quantity. For example, a certain number of slices of pizza. Okay? But here with Sally and Joe, you're not what you're trying to communicate doesn't correspond to a certain number of slices of pizza. Okay? Let me give you another example of a ratio, of a reason you might want to combine numbers besides creating fractions. Okay? So suppose somebody was driving down the street at 20 miles per hour. Okay? So that means that every hour they're going to drive 20 miles if they continue at the rate that they're driving. Okay? So to communicate that speed, that velocity, that rate, whatever you want to call it, you need two numbers. You need to squash together 20 miles and 1 hour. Okay? You can also say, you can communicate the same ratio different ways, as I've already shown. Okay, I'll go ahead and show you the different ways. Okay? And again, let me repeat. the reason that you're joining these two numbers is not because you are talking about something that's like slices of a pizza. Okay, you have a different purpose. You see that? So a fraction is a ratio. It's simply one type of ratio, but there's other types. Okay? A ratio is a more general idea. That's how they're related. Okay? And I've talked about I've showed you the different various notations for ratios. Okay? And so let me now close with one simple exercise. Suppose that I had a ratio composed of the numbers 14 and 13. Now, can you show me 3 different ways to denote that ratio? Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try to denote a ratio composed of those two numbers 3 different ways. Okay, I'll go ahead and show you 3 possibilities. So you could use a colon, you could use the word 2, or you could use the traditional fraction notation. Okay?